The Dazzling Show. The Dazzling Show. And here is Dazzling. Let's go.
You guys have the gynecological section here, right?
Yes.
And you, no doubt, have a lot of female babies delivered. Do you advise the women about the genital mutilation, or you don't say anything about it?
Yes. Like, okay, 2 weeks ago, I had a baby and they were discharged, and then the father calls from the house asking me when the child is going to be circumcised.
Really?
Yes.
So they expect you to do it here at the hospital?
Yes, and I told the man that female children are not to be circumcised. Even the wife wasn't circumcised. It was the man's mother.
Did you tell him that?
Yes. It was the man's mother that came from the village.
Yeah.
That came and was telling them that they need to circumcise the child. Probably the mother was circumcised,
Circumcised,
but
yeah.
the man's wife wasn't circumcised. So I told him that female children are not supposed to be circumcised. So it still boils down to public enlightenment and awareness campaigns. The more you say these things, the more people know about them. They are done in ignorance.
Okay, so if the man never talked about that, would you have advised them, you know, ordinarily do you talk to people that have female kids?
Yeah, if the opportunity, if there is opportunity, every time you have the opportunity, you tell them. But because we all live in Lagos, Lagos is a city. If that child was born in the village, in the traditional settings, they would have had a time period when all children of that age will be brought together and the circumcision thing will go on, because it's like a ritual, like an induction process. Most of them that are done around the age of 15, when the child has attained puberty. Probably that's what they need to be done. Well, that's what needs to be done before the child gets married off. So every child or every female child of that age will undergo the induction process, kind of.
Yeah, but they were born in the hospital.
Because he was fine, that's why he's getting this information. If he was in his village, I'm sure the
will
child
be different. Yeah. So why don't you make it a scheme to give that orientation to all the parents?
Like when they come for antenatal, we'll have lectures for them. We'll tell them about family planning. We'll tell them about how to feed the baby. We'll tell them about benefit of exclusive breastfeeding. And yes, you can chip in this too. And
The gender mutilation too. Okay. So in as much as I'm interested in the female gender mutilation, I'm still interested in underage marriage, because still boils down to what I call abuse to women. So on the medical aspect of it, what's your take? I know we talk about the religious aspect, the cultural aspect. What about the medical aspects of your underage marriage?
Okay. According to World Health Organization, we say someone is underage when the person is below the age of 18. Underage marriage will be marrying a girl child that is less than 18 years. Person is not an adult yet. And the issues are this. For a child to be married off at less than 18, chances are high that this girl child may not have completed her secondary school education. And because the child is less than 18, the child may not have attained the child's potential growth, best maturity as a human being. So when the child eventually gets pregnant and has a baby, when it's time for labor, because the pelvis has not developed to its maximal potential, the birth canal is small. Most of the time they have difficult labor, what we call cephalopelvic disproportion. Head of a baby bigger than the passage, bigger than the birth canal. So the labor is not going to work. Like you're going to pass a baby this big.
Let's say this big.
Yeah, this big through this hole, of course it's not going to go. So the labor most of the time is prolonged, it gets obstructed. And the prolonged pressure on the bladder causes them to have what we call vesicovaginal fistula. As in there will be a leakage of urine after. Most of the time, baby is there anyway, because these labors this labor goes on not in the hospital. If you're in the hospital, the doctors will detect that there's disproportion and then they'll go for a cesarean section. But most of the time it happens in birth attendants' homes or in their homes or wherever. So most of the time the child dies, and this woman, because of the long pressure on the bladder, she starts leaking urine afterwards, and she continues to leak urine all her life. She can't control, the urine is coming clean all the time, and because of this thing happening, the husband usually abandons them
and marries another wife, of course.
Another woman, and she remains poor all her life. Because she's under 18, she doesn't have any qualification, she's not economically empowered, so the effect is
she's not even healthy enough to work.
Yes.
My name's John Ikechukwu Okafor. Ibu mkpakọta konyi konyi. Oganigwe na nonu yeke nwanyi bo ewuru mgbada ogaraja na anwa akam. Please keep watching Celebrities with Ada Slim.
The Ada Slim Show. Let's go.
So let's talk about first-time mothers. Do you think they get depressed sometimes with the body change and all that?
Okay. Have you been pregnant before?
No.
Maybe you should try and get pregnant so you will find out for yourself. When someone is pregnant, there are certain hormones that are produced in the body that weren't there before, or the ones that were there before, they will be produced in levels that weren't there before. And it's been known to cause some emotional changes. They go through various emotional changes. Some changes, they may be depressed, they may feel, let me not say anyhow. They feel, it varies from persons to persons. Yeah. They feel uncomfortable, generally uncomfortable. Usually was in the first 3 months of pregnancy. With time, their bodies get used to the levels of the hormones, and it becomes, it starts reducing. Kind of. And when they are in labor for the first timer, usually a very anxious moment. They would have read things or heard things from various people about labor. It's very painful. Some they think it's once the pain comes, baby comes out. But in reality, it's not like that. Labor can actually be very, very long. For the first timer, between 12 to 16 hours. And according to books, they say no words there are no words that are sufficient to describe how painful it can be.
Really?
Yes.
I'm getting scared.
Yes, but it's not the same for everyone. Our pain threshold, it varies. If I see it as terribly painful, some other person might not feel it as, but everybody knows that it's quite painful. So most of the times we'll allow their husbands to come in there to encourage them when they are in labor, and it helps a lot.
Okay, so what about after lactation, when certain vital body parts have changed and all that? Do you think it worries them? I mean, it would worry me as a woman, but I don't know. I haven't had a baby before.
You've not had a baby. You've not breastfed anybody before. So you've not breastfed anybody before. So
not yet.
You're not permitted to say.
That's why I have to ask you. You are a professional.
There is no big issue. The thing is, God has made it such that at a certain stage, a woman gets married, a woman has a baby, and you become a woman. You're no longer a girl. Yeah. That is now a mother, and you now enter the realm of being a mother. Yeah. So you should have all things mothers have.
And expect the changes.
And expect the changes.
Thank you so much, yes. Dr. Francis. Okay. So good to have you.
Yeah,
and I'm still going to have you again in the studio. Okay. You're such a good orator.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to have you.
Okay.
The Ada Slim Show.